Hey, Facebook Nation. This your girl Jamaican Joan again coming to you with panel 4 of the 12th Annual Women's Entrepreneur Expo. But please don't go anywhere because we are going to be right back. Welcome back to the 12th Women's Entrepreneur Expo. I'm your host, Jamaican Joan, and I have an amazing set of panelists here for you today. So we're going to be talking about branding, financial literacy, nonprofit, and accounting. So just a tad bit about my company before I introduce the panelists. Again, my name is Dr. Joan Henry Fields, affectionately known as Jamaican Joan. And I have two companies. One of them is a nonprofit organization, RESA Incorporated, where I connect women and girls to an array of services such as domestic violence services, homelessness services, and all other services that are needed in the community. Then I have my real estate consulting firm, Out in the Fields Real Estate Consulting Firm. And as we go through, you're going to see little things scrolling at the bottom of the page and how you can get in touch with me. Okay. So thank you for tuning in. And if you're here, I'm just going to ask you to hit share on your device so that the people in your network can receive this great information as well. So I'm going to start with the panelists and I'm going to ask each person. The first question is going to be the same for everyone. I'm going to ask you to share your name, the name of your company, your products and services, and your web contact information, how people can find you and follow you. So since we have Jerry Foster, who's the only male on this panel, in this case, we're going to do men first, right? You know, it's not always like that, Jerry, so don't get too comfortable, okay? In this case, we're going to do men first. So hello, Mr. Foster, and welcome to the 12th Annual Women's Entrepreneur Expo. Please introduce yourself to the world.
Hey, Joan, Jerry Foster, otherwise known as the Branding Evangelist. And the name of my company is Jerry Foster Branding. And my website, of course, is jerryfosterbranding.com. And I'm coming to you live from Los Angeles, California.
Yeah, California in the house. So next we're going to have Dr. Erica Murray.
Hey there, Joan. I'm Dr. Erica Murray, and I have a company named Dr. Erica and Associates. We are a financial service firm. We offer an impressive financial diagnostic of your finances that will happen in 5 minutes or less. And we're able to develop a financial strategy for our clients. And then additionally, our website is Dr. Erica and Associates. And our telephone number where you can reach us is 866-50-WEALTH. Again, that's 866-509-3258. Thank you.
Awesome. So next we have Miss Jamila Kemp.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jamila Kemp, and I am the founder and principal consultant of Jamila Kemp Consulting. We are a nonprofit startup organization helping people who are looking to start a nonprofit and also those organizations that have been in service for 1 to 5 years. You can find us anywhere on social media, Facebook, Instagram at Jamila Kemp Consulting, and you can reach me by phone at 410-831-0829, and I am hailing in from Baltimore, Maryland.
And finally, we have Miss Stephanie Smith.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephanie Smith, and I am the Chief Financial Officer of A Plus Electrical Construction, LLC, which was established in 2010. Back in 2008, the name originated from A Plus Home Improvement, and as the opportunity became available to advance, the business tapped into electrical construction. And we're out of Fort Washington, Maryland. We're providing a full range of electrical services to residential, commercial, and industrial companies. And so our contact information website is www.apluselectricalconstruction, one word, @web.com. And the telephone number to reach us is 202-321-8153.
Okay, awesome. So back to you, Jerry, with the first question. And I'm just going to ask the other panelists to put your phone on mute and unmute when it's your time to speak so that we can make sure that everyone is loud and clear. So, except you, Jerry, because you go next. So, what are the benefits of branding? Mr. Branding Expert, tell us, what are the benefits of branding?
Well, first off, I want everyone to realize that I'm what's called a brand strategist as opposed to a brand designer. So just like someone who may own a house cleaning service says, I don't do windows, well, I tell people I don't do logos, swag bags, tote bags, websites, and things that people can see, because great brands are built strategically and not visually. And so my forte is showing people primarily who have gifts and skills and talents and services and expertise to offer the world, to transform that into something that is original and thrilling, so that you can do what? Get known, get found, and get paid. Amen. Because that's the name of the game. And so branding is important, Joan, because we live in a brand conscious world. People today prefer to do business with a brand. And when you're putting out a brand as opposed to a service or a product, you're putting something out that people are going to really pay attention to. And so either your brand or your bland. That's what I tell people.
Okay, all right. So, Dr. Erica Murray, you're going to be next. So, what are some of the ways to create and maintain a family budget?
Okay, Dr. Joan here. Ways to create and maintain a family budget it's a simplistic process. The first thing that you have to do is you have to commit. You have to verbally, mentally, and physically commit to the ideology of a budget, right? Oftentimes, many are not reared with that concept of budgeting, and they don't realize the value of budgeting, right? So that brings me into step 2, which means value. You must embrace the value of budgeting. You must accept budgeting as your ally and know that this concept is your friend, right? It is a catalyst to wealth building. Step 3, I would say, is you have to create a budget by establishing boundaries and planning your purchases. So budgeting is void of impulse purchasing. So when we go to Walmart and you see all these end caps, don't start pulling things off the end cap, because oftentimes they're actually more expensive when we start talking about quantity. And that's more of an impulsive type of purchase, because they know that you're going to come in there, you're going to do that. So you have to become the chief financial officer of your finances, which means that you have to choose to become responsible with that money. Okay, you must take to paper and pen and analyze what you're spending your money on. Oftentimes, people are so detached from what it is that they're spending money on. If you ask them, how much are you spending money? How much money are you spending going out to lunch? It's always maybe I don't know. That's because we're detached from that. So as financial professionals, we believe that your finances should be split into 3 parts. That's your living expenses, your savings, your insurance. Well, 4 parts, I would say: living, insurance, savings, and your debt. We want to minimize that debt part of it. And the final is the best way to reach your financial destination is to make the plan and follow it. So the greatest commitment that we can make is a commitment to ourselves. So I challenge people whenever we talk about a budget is, hey, are you going to own that commitment you make to yourself about your money? So those are some of the tips that I have when it comes to budgeting, Dr. Joan.
Okay, awesome. So Jamela, you're going to be the next there. So, this question I'm about to ask you, I wish I'd asked myself that question when I was getting ready to start my nonprofit. But since I learned the long way, tell the viewers, what are the top 3 questions that one must ask themselves before starting a nonprofit, and why?
So I'm going to answer your question with the question, why? W is for who do you want to serve? Who is your passion population? For me, the organization that I started 8 years ago, it was very personal for me. So my passion population are young people and single parents, because I am a single parent and I couldn't afford food and school supplies to send my son to kindergarten. He's now 16 and God has definitely made a way. But before we can even begin servicing the community, we have to know who we want to serve. And that's typically personal, or it's typically some idea or some group who you see is struggling in some sort of capacity that you want to provide a solution for. Next is the H. How do you plan to serve them? How will you change their current circumstances, their behaviors, their outcomes? What experiences do you want to create for them? What testimony of change are you positioning them to share? And is this program that you think the community needs, does it really need it, right? I had to take a step back and say, okay, I'm a single parent. This is what I'm struggling with, but are other single parents struggling in this same way? The answer was an astounding yes. So we have to first identify what their problem is in order to provide a viable solution. Just because we're doing the work doesn't mean it's producing what we need it to produce in order to create the impact that's necessary. And then last is actually why. Why are you starting the organization? Is it personal? Do you want to create change by doing good? Or are you in it just for the money? If you're in it just for the money, you're in the wrong industry for this. This takes a lot of heart and a lot of passion work. And there's nothing wrong with making money, don't get me wrong, but sometimes we have to take a look at what is our driving force of why we do what we do. If it is community service and we want to be a servant, then yes, a nonprofit is a way to go. However, if we want to draw another salary or create another income stream, then maybe an LLC or a corporation is the way that you want to go. So we have to kind of gut check our reasons as to why we're starting the organization. So again, why? Who? H is how, and why. Why are you starting the nonprofit organization? Those are the first three questions that you need to ask yourself. Until you're able to clearly articulate those three things, then it's not quite right yet for you to make that jump. So take a step back and really make sure that you can clearly articulate those things.
Okay, awesome. Stephanie, your question, what are the roles and importance of accounting?
Thank you, Dr. Joan. What I'm going to do is answer that in two parts. I'm going to tell you about the role of an accountant. And so a role of an accountant is basically to collect, record, analyze, and interpretate the accounting information of a business or company's financial operations. And so with that, you maintain the profit and loss statements that shows, the earnings and the expenditures. And then you have a balance sheet that you maintain, which shows the report of the business, what it owes versus what it owns. And then there's a cash flow statement, which tracks the incoming and outgoing cash flow. And then also there is some administrative function role too, as an accountant. And so one of those things is you have to have some type of structure of auditing the information. And so there's like three entities that I really focus on as it relates to auditing. And one of them is the statutory auditing, which is it's legally required to review the actuals, the accuracy rather of the business and the company's financial statements and records. And then you have that internal audit where you conduct an audit to sort of evaluate the financial statements, just to see the effectiveness of the business, where the business actually stands. And then the last one is taxation. And that's basically like the tax audit where, you do an examination of the business or the company tax return to just verify the financial information that it's being recorded correctly. And then
Okay.
to answer your last question, as far as the importance of an accounting, the first and foremost is to make sure that you maintain a systematic and organized record keeping of all of the business and the company's transactions, because it will save you, a lot of time of trying to figure out, what your company actually is earning and what the company is actually losing. So to put it in a nutshell, it's basically bookkeeping.
Okay, awesome. All right, so Jerry, back to you. How does branding help one to maintain their competitive edge?
Well, first off, unless you have an edge, don't compete. And I read recently that there's 1.7 billion websites on the World Wide Web. And what that has led to is a major challenge, especially in the midst of the pandemic. And that's simply this: unless you're standing out, you're invisible. And if you're not distinct, you risk being extinct. And so the first decision that all of our viewers have to make is, do you want to put out a brand or do you just want to put out a product or a service? Because if you want to put out a brand, then you have to have what's called a lucrative, competitive edge that separates you from the rest of the crowd. Now, what do I mean? One of the challenges that I find, Joan, and as you know, I've been doing this now for over 30 plus years. I've helped over 100,000 small businesses, 600 different industries. And I'll tell you this, one of the biggest problems today is the failure on the part of so many small business owners, particularly those of you who are offering services, to not achieve what's called me only status. You guys should write that down. You want to be a me only brand and not a me too brand, which allows you to say to the world, I have exactly what you've been looking for, and you can only get it from me. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. That's the game. Now, how do you become a me only brand as opposed to a me too? Well, the first thing is you got to make sure that you're known for something that the world has never heard or seen before. I want to speak to those of you who are spiritual out there. See, in order for God, your God, to get a blessing to you, he's got to be able to bless others through you. But the only way he can bless others through you is if no other business looks like you or sounds like you, or you don't get it yet. You see, the name of the game is to make sure that you are putting something out into the marketplace that people can go, yes, that's what I'm looking for. So ask yourself, what are people looking for from someone like you with what you offer that they presently cannot find? And I tell you this, Joan, unless you brand yourself, somebody else will. And the way they'll brand you is probably not going to be the way that you want them to brand you. People will slot you, label you, and put you in a box. I'm a real estate agent. I put you into the real estate pile. I'm a financial planner. I put you into the financial planning pile. I'm a life coach. I put you into the life coach pile. And so therefore, you have to swim in what's called blue ocean market space, which allows you to say, I'm fearlessly original, and you can only get it from me, because if they put you in red ocean market space, which means they can go to another website or something and think that somebody can do the same thing that you can do, then all of a sudden you are now allowing people to commoditize you. You're allowing people to label you as being generic. You're just another slice in the loaf. You're just another penguin in the flock. And so you have to do all that you can to separate yourself and back it up with this. And I'll close on this. You got to back it up with your secret sauce. Oh, come on with me, somebody. You got to be able to say that you are able to pull something off on behalf of your clients and your customers like nobody else. So ask yourself, what is it about you that allows you to shine the brightest? When do you radiate? When do you sparkle? And let's strategically build the brand that allows you to say, I'm the only one who does like I do. You can only get it from me. And you want to know what else? You're going to be so thrilled with the outcomes that you will quickly realize that I am the brand of choice. So brand preference must be something that you achieve. Brand preference, that's the key.
Okay, let the church say amen. So, Dr. Erica, what are the 5 best ways to recession-proof your emergency fund?
Wow, that is a super amazing question, Dr. Joan. It's loaded. And I would say the first thing that you want to do is to have an emergency fund. You know, COVID-19 came in, Joan, and a lot of people were not prepared. So the first thing I would say, make certain that you have an emergency fund. And understand that an emergency fund is the foundation of a financial strategy. The next thing I would probably say is to have more than one stream of income. You know, we want to make certain that we continue that philosophy of more than one stream of income. If COVID has taught us anything, it is that we have to have an additional source of income that we control coming into our homes. The third thing I would say is to clearly identify what is determined as an emergency fund for you. That looks differently for everybody, right? I call it hashtag don't touch, right? That means an emergency fund is don't touch unless there is an emergency. And getting my hair done isn't an emergency. A round of golf is not an emergency because I'm stressed out, okay? So don't touch it. And then I'm gonna say this, don't own other people's emergencies and allow them to deplete your savings, because that oftentimes happens. Someone calls and you go into your emergency fund and you help them fund something that's probably not an emergency, because oftentimes people use their money for what they want and use your money for what they need. right? So we want to make certain we do that. And I want you to commit to consistently funding that account. And let's talk about like at least $25 per month. That is $6.25 per week, 89 cents a day. Or if you go up a little bit higher, $50, that's $12.50 a week, $1.78 per day. And I'll tell my clients, don't go to the vending machine at work. You don't need that Coke. You don't need the cheese. You don't need to visit that place, because you don't have to stop at Starbucks every day either, right? Because when we start calculating that money that can go into an emergency fund, that's that buffer for us in case we have a pandemic like we have now. And the last thing I would say is ensure that your emergency fund is working for you. And what I mean by that is not having that money in a bank account, but basically having it in a high yield investment account that's slated for growth, because we all know that banks historically pay lower interest rates on anything, right? So if we want to create wealth, we have to ensure that our money is growing in another account, also known as an investment account, which brings us a high yield. That's all I have for you on that question, Joan.
Okay, awesome. So, Jamila, so what are, let's say, maybe the top 5 questions to ask a prospective board member?
Okay, I was prepared with 11, so I'll give you 5.
Oh, okay, well, give me 10. Go through 10. Okay.
Okay, I'll run through the list, and this is only half of what I actually ask our board members and what I have my clients ask their potential board members. So the first question is, what are your reasons for responding to the board member call to action? What piqued your interest about our organization? Second, what do you consider to be your areas of strength and those you would like to develop further? Number 3, do you have objections to a financial commitment as a board member? Number 4, what role do you see yourself playing while on the board? What are your personal goals you would set for yourself? Number 5, define advocacy as it relates to being a nonprofit board member of, and then when you're asking the question of, and you name your organization, how would you define the term board member? Please define mission ambassador in your own words based on your own experience and provide an example. Number 8, do you agree to obtaining a background check? Number 9, why are you a good candidate as a board member of such and such organization? Number 10, fundraising is a significant obligation of board service. Can you tell us about your experience in fundraising? And number 11, why are you interested in committing your time and energy to us? The answers to these questions will allow board executives, the president, and the executive director to really help the board member to define their lane. A lot of nonprofits fail because boards are excited to do the work, but they don't know what to do. So let's take a look back at the answers to these questions and help them identify the value that they bring to the organization. Tap into their skill sets. Use what they naturally are good at to move the organization forward. If they are a great fundraising strategist, put them on fundraising. If they love to be, strategic planning, then task them with their strategic plan for the first 1 to 3 years. We have to give our board members the tools that they need to be successful. And the only way that we can do that is by understanding and realizing who they are as people, their skill set, their talent, what it is that they're bringing to the table, their community, their network. It all plays a part in being a successful board member of a nonprofit organization. And like I said, that's just half of the questions that I ask.
Okay, well, I'm glad you was able to get to get them out. Here it is. I'm trying to have you do 5. Bad, Joan. But anyway, Stephanie, why is accounting important for small businesses?
Thank you, Joan. Accounting is important to a small business. The accounting plays a vital role in running a small business because it helps track the income and it helps with the expenditures, ensure the statutory compliance. It provides investors, if you have any investors, management, the quantitative financial information which you can use when you're making business decisions. So it's very critical that your financial records and your information is up to date, because if that information is up to date, then your business definitely can stay afloat, because then you'll have that information readily available. And so I just want to share like three key points or three important reasons for a small business as it relates to accounting. And the first one is to it's like the statutory compliance. Different laws and different regulations vary from state to state. But if you have the proper accounting system and the process, it will help you to ensure that your statutory compliance when it comes to making those decisions and making sure your business has that information, because it ensures the liability such as sales taxes, such as income taxes, or any pension funds, just to name a few, are appropriately addressed. Make sure that those are addressed. And then the second one is to help you to create a budget or future projection. When you're doing budgeting and future projection, it can give you like a quick breakdown of the business, of your financial records, which will play a critical role as well, when it comes to making decisions, because when you're tracking your business financial, and you can make good decisions as it relates to the projections, because projections is based on your historical information, your historical data. And so it's good to just make sure that is up to date. So when you're doing any type of budgeting or any future projections as it relates to how the business is operating or how the funds are being utilized. And then the third one I just want to mention is that filing, your financial statements. A business is required to file their financial statements with the registry of companies. And when that information is listed, those different entities, it just requires that, it's when you're filing it makes sure that it's incorporate any stocks exchange, any pension, any information that you have, making sure that you file that information. And it can be either direct or indirect for filing purposes.
Okay, awesome. So back to you, Jerry. What are the top 5 things that one must focus on as they build their brand?
Number one, realize that a brand is more than a logo. I always like to tell people, let's take Coke and Pepsi. I doubt if the Coca-Cola drinkers prefer Coke because it's in a red can, and the Pepsi people because it's in a blue can. It's what's inside the can that counts. So the first question is, what's inside your can, right? I mean, think about that. Which leads to number 2, you have to give people a reason to choose you over the competition. It's funny, Joan, during the pandemic, and I'm just going to go ahead and admit this publicly, I don't cook, okay? Now, I'm taking some cooking lessons, but so pray for me. So here's the thing. I'm a takeout and delivery guy, and I use Grubhub a lot. Nothing wrong with Uber Eats, nothing wrong with DoorDash, but I prefer Grubhub. During rideshare, I'm a Lyft guy. I prefer Lyft over Uber. Nothing wrong with Uber. And so the point I'm making is that we all have what? Preferences for our brands. Some people prefer Starbucks over a 7-Eleven or another coffee shop. Some people prefer Nike over Adidas. Some people prefer to go into a Subway versus another sandwich shop. What's my point? You have to achieve, this is number 3, you have to achieve brand preference. And that means you have to have what's called a whole brand. Now, I'm not saying that not having a great logo and pretty colors on your website and all the window dressing and all the aesthetics is not important. Of course not. Anything that's going to help you stand out and get noticed makes a lot of sense. However, you want to have a whole brand, which means that you're giving people a compelling reason to choose you over other choices, like I said. Number 4, make sure that your brand is rooted in what is it that makes you unique and different. I mentioned earlier, Joan, about the importance of your competitive edge. Now, why is that also important? Because when you can carve out your me-only image in a crowded marketplace and you carry that over to your marketing, then your marketing could be more effective. because you're able to drive what's called customer engagement, which leads to number 5, and that is understand that whenever you're looking to scale up with branding, there's basically what I call the golden triangle, which means that you have to nail your brand down first and then market and sell your brand. It's always branding followed by marketing followed by selling. It's like a 3-legged stool. All 3 legs are important. One leg is not more important than the other. But it also says that branding is just as important as marketing. Marketing is just as important as selling. Selling is just as important as branding. But Joan, here's the deal. They have to be integrated. They have to work together, right, in order to produce the results. And that's why I was alluding to earlier. The job of branding is to what? Differentiate you from the rest of the crowd. The job of marketing is to get people to pay attention to you, create some desire for what you have through your funnels and through your online marketing, whatever. And then the job of selling is to get people to pay for that difference. Let me say that again. Branding will differentiate you. Marketing's job is to get people to notice what makes you different. The job of selling is to get people to pay for that difference. And for those of you who don't really grasp that, let me break it down this way, because I am from Detroit. I'm going to go back home on this one for you, Joan. Branding would get you known, marketing would get you found, and selling would get you paid, okay? That's the game, all right? And so if someone thinks that they have a brand because they got a freaking logo or because they got a website, they're missing the mark. No, you got to make sure that you understand there's 3 layers to branding, okay? There's the strategic layer, strategic branding, and that's all the foundational stuff I'm talking about. The next layer is called visual branding. So in the first layer, we're doing what? We're giving your brand the strongest body, voice, and spirit possible. And then in layer 2, you bring that to life visually through design, through your marketing, through your photography, and on. And then the third layer that's emerged over the last several years is called social media branding. So you don't jump to the social media. You don't focus on the visual stuff. You first make sure that your brand architecture is in place. So those are my 5 key tips.
Man, of everyone on this show, you're the only one that I have not had on Influential Thursday. And I got to get you on Influential Thursday. You need a whole hour with this bad boy here. So we're going to have to talk. So now let me go to Dr. Erica. Why is it important to set up a retirement account outside of your employment?
Oh, wow. Listen, Joan, it's important to set up a retirement account because it's your responsibility. Your retirement is your responsibility. It is not your company's responsibility. It's not the government's responsibility. It is your responsibility only. When we mature to the level that we are no longer able to exchange time for money, the ultimate question is, how do you want to live? What conditions do you want to live? Do I want my years to be golden, or do I want them to be lackluster? That's going to be your choice, right? And just like Jerry said, Jerry, as in your branding, we have a 3-legged stool over here also. So when we think of retirement as a 3-legged stool, that seat is actually retirement. One leg represents pensions, which companies no longer give to a lot of people now. They're almost extinct. The second layer, well, let me go back. You have that. And then, of course, you have your 401k. Now, the problem with the 401ks is that people are not maximizing and funding their 401ks to the fullest. That becomes the issue for that, right? Because most people don't understand it. You get a job, you go to HR, they give you some documents, you fill them out, but you don't understand. You call your aunt, your uncle, or your cousin, and you ask them. They don't fully understand. So they give you information that's really not conducive for your future, right? So the second leg represents Social Security, which is a volatile conversation in our country. You know, it comes with great uncertainty. Although they're taking the money from us, you know, we're basically forced to pay into a system, right? They didn't come and knock on the door and say, Miss Stephanie Smith, is it okay that we take your money out for Social Security, right? They didn't do that. So they're taking this money out, but we don't control that because our current president talked about making Social Security disappear by 2022 if he were to stay in office. So that's a problem. That right there shows you that. The third leg represents your personal savings or investments. This is probably the most critical aspect of your retirement. Listen to me when I tell you, Your personal savings is the goose that lays the golden egg, right? So now you ask yourself, which of these accounts do you personally control? And the answer to that question is only one, Dr. Jones. You only control your personal savings. This is why it's critical for you to sit down with a state and federally licensed professional to help you understand your financial position, along with that CPA or that accountant, to be able to share with you how you put these measures in place for sustainability, because we oftentimes work with CPAs and accountants to ensure that what we're doing on the financial side does not adversely affect you, but we want those two to be married together and to produce a secure financial output. So we want to make certain that you take that serious. If you don't understand what's happening with your 401k, by all means, you can call me or you can reach out to your personal a financial professional if you have one. Again, that's state and federally licensed to be able to understand the rules and regulations. You want, if your company offers a 401k plan, you want with a match, you definitely want to get that free money off the table. So, Joan, those are some of the reasons why I would say that you definitely need to set up a retirement account outside of your job, because it's the difference in you retiring with taxes and retiring without taxes. So back to you, Dr. Joan.
Okay, thank you. So, Jamila, before hosting a fundraiser, what are the main things that the organization should consider?
All right, thanks, Joan. So first, they need to decide what type of event they want to host. Is it a gala, a wine tasting, a paint party? But it must be based upon the organization's capacity financially and when it comes to human resources. I focus on the small organizations just getting started. So you may not have a team of 25 people to help you get this event off the ground. So you first have to take a look at what you can actually do. Next, you need to determine the true cost of the event or the activity. What are all of your expenditures? What do you have to make sure you're paying for? Which leads you to your next point here, is to set your fundraising goal. The goal of a fundraiser is to raise funds, okay? We're not just trying to break even, but as you're figuring out this fundraising goal, once you have all of your costs accounted for on paper, and you can then decide, okay, so I need to raise $1,000 to cover the cost, but I want to ultimately raise $5,000. So that comes your surplus, okay? Here's the thing with nonprofits. Nonprofits does not mean no profit. We need to have a surplus every year in order to become sustainable. So yes, we can still have money in the bank left over. We don't have to always break even. That is not the way to sustainability. Okay, so next, after you set your fundraising goal, think about how you're going to bring that money in. You can either have people pay to attend the event, a silent auction. You can run a Facebook fundraiser in tandem with your event. You can host a raffle. Your board members should definitely be contributing to not only helping to cover the cost of it, but they should be inviting people to attend the event. They should be sharing it. And you definitely want to seek sponsors as well. This will help to reduce your out-of-pocket cash costs and also allow you to build strategic partnerships within the community. Okay, when it comes to the raffles, that is considered a gaming activity. So please be sure to check your local laws in the state at the federal level and make sure that you're able to host a raffle and what that entails, because you don't want to bring in $50,000 and then you get in trouble on the backside because you didn't do your due diligence when it comes to the gaming license that may be necessary. Now, Jerry already talked about the branding, so I'm just going to underscore, just do what he said when it comes to the next thing about marketing, okay? But we also want to think about, we want to give ourselves enough time to promote the event. It's kind of hard to get a great response when you plan an event 2 weeks from now. There's not enough time to do anything. So give yourself ample time to promote the event, secure your sponsors. That's where social media comes into play. Using ticketing services like Eventbrite. Make sure there's always a donation option if you have a ticket platform that you're going to use. Email, website, and again, your board members and other volunteers, and even your paid staff as well. And you will need to create those marketing materials. Okay, next step is, how do you plan to host the fundraiser? As right now, we're all virtual. So you're in competition with a lot of other organizations who are trying to stay alive, stay relevant, stay, in needing support of their organization, and they need funds as well. So are you going to use Zoom? Are you going to use StreamYard? Do you want to hire a company to handle this for you. And then last, we have to talk about logistics. I'm a logistical person. I'm not the creative person, but I'll plan an event for you from top to bottom, right? So when you're thinking about the logistics, do you have a backup plan in case something goes wrong? What happens if the technology doesn't work? You know, sometimes we need to have a co-host. So if your session drops, then you have a co-host who can continue the session on. Something else to consider is having someone to manage your chat room for you and also manage your waiting room for you if you're using Zoom. As the host, you cannot do it all. So you need to have a team who is there to make sure you're logistically sound. And make sure you do a couple of run-throughs before the day of. Trying to host the event live and you haven't done any pre-prepping work, that's room for disaster, unfortunately, because you want to be able to figure out the kinks and work those things through and be able to pivot if necessary. And then last, make sure your guests and your speakers know when to log in, how they can get in contact with you. So those are the things that I would have any nonprofit to really make sure they can pinpoint and identify before they launch a fundraiser.
Okay, awesome. So, Jerry, I'm going to ask you to take it on with your final question. As a brand specialist, how far do you take your clients in the branding process?
Unmute myself.
Yes.
I go an inch wide and a mile deep. Branding is the only work I've done my entire adult life. My entire adult life. Even when I went to USC undergrad and grad school, I majored in marketing, deep study, and branding. And I read an article once, Joan, that said that the average American changes their job 10 to 15 times in a lifetime. I've never done anything else but branding my entire adult life. And so in the branding universe that I orbit in, I'm regarded as a bona fide branding guy, the real deal. Because the fact of the matter is that there are a lot of people out there today who use that word branding. They say they do branding, and then you find out, oh, you do designs. Oh, you do photography. Oh, you do colors. Your idea of branding is let's shoot some videos and post them on Instagram, right? So when I work with people, I go real deep, all the way from what is your purpose? Why are you here? What is it that sets you apart and makes you different? What makes you unique and distinct? Can we root that in what's called your brand DNA so that you can then say to someone that, hey, not only am I standalone, me only brand, that you can deliver something, I can deliver something special and memorable. And so a part of my work is about getting people to understand that if you truly want to stand out and not blend in, if you truly believe that you were born to stand out and not blend in, then you've got to be willing to crush conventional ways. You've got to redefine customer expectations. You've got to go beyond the predictable, especially during this pandemic. And so, Jonah, a lot of people that I work with, and I primarily work with solopreneurs, one person, maybe two or three, folks that often don't even have a lot of money, because that's not what drives me. I'm purpose-driven and not money-driven. And I do a lot of what's called rebranding, where I take what someone has and I show them how to make it as strong as possible. And rebranding is done all the time. For those of you who don't know it, it's done all the time by big companies, because your goal is to do what? Stay ahead of the curve. And so you've got to re-engineer, reimagine, revamp, retool. You've got to rejuvenate to make sure that what you're putting out there, especially going into 2021, are you kidding me? Your brand is what drives everything today. So for those of you who do want to connect with me, hey, I'd love to do so. I guess everybody put out their phone number. I should put out my phone number, I guess. It's my cell is area code 310-382-6539. 310-382-6539. And what I would like to offer is a free gift, if I may. Is this okay? Is for everyone out there, let's muscle test your brand. I have an online assessment that I created that allows you to see where you're strong, where you're weak, what the missing pieces may be that could be hurting or hindering your success. Just text me your name and the word quiz, and I'll get you set up. No obligations. I'm not going to try to sell you something. I don't roll like that. I'm a giver, not a taker. But you need to see Right now, if you have the strongest brand possible, because you don't know what you don't know, and the worst thing to do is to act like you do know what you don't know, that what you don't know is not that important, particularly with branding, because today it's all about your brand.
Okay, awesome. And again, I definitely got to speak with you offline and try to get you on Influential Thursday where you can share this information in a full hour. Okay, because that's some great information. I've had everyone else on Influential Thursday, so I need to get you on Influential Thursday. So,
Not
Dr.
just
Erica
on the
Murray.
podcast. I'd like to get you on my podcast. It's called Big Brand Formula. I have a system called the Big Brand Formula, which allows you to organically create a big brand and a strong message that sells, so you can excite, delight, and ignite your market and make it easier to get clients. And I have a very popular podcast. I'd love to have you as a guest as well. And the other panelists too. Let's rock and roll.
Let's rock and roll. That's what I'm talking about, collaboration, right?
Yes.
So, Dr. Erica, take it on with this question. How critical is financial literacy to seasoned and budding entrepreneurs?
Dr. Joan, I think that financial literacy is critical to seasoned and budding entrepreneurs because you don't have anyone creating benefit packages for you like your major corporations. So as much as entrepreneurs will love to believe that they're Peter Pan, and what I mean by that is that they will, they'll live forever, their businesses will profit forever. You can't do that. Just as a CPA and an attorney are critical to setting up a business, so is a financial professional to establish a financial plan for you personally and for their businesses. So state and federal licensed professionals, you keep hearing me say that because there are so many people out here today who are claiming to be professionals. And, we have all these different type of trading platforms and, they're selling all of this mumble jumble. Listen, if you're not dealing with a state or federally licensed professional who can be the GPS to your financial growth individually and as it relates to your business, this is a critical mistake for you. So I think the biggest misnomer is that you can't afford a professional advisor service. And that's not necessarily so. Just as Jerry said, we're not here trying to sell your product. We're trying to establish a plan for you. We're giving you the right information so that you can make the decision that works best for your organization because you know where you are. You can tell us where you want to be. We're just that global positioning system for you as it relates to your finances. So pretty much you can't afford it. Financial literacy is something that we should have been taught in school, but it's not. I have a PhD in international business. They didn't teach me about money there. Unfortunately, that was not a topic of discussion. They taught me about algebra, trigonometry, and calculus, which I don't use any of that right now. And it's not helping to make me wealthy, right? It's not too late, for us to get ourselves in a place whereby we can create this wealth. But, you have to face that element that you sometimes are afraid to, because most times people say, I just don't have anything. And that's not true. You do have something. We just have to realign how you're using what you have. Because I don't know if you guys remember the story, The Millionaire Next Door. This guy's a janitor, right? And of course, they don't get paid that much, but he knew what to do with that money to create wealth for himself and for his family. So if you're not literate about finances, you will not be in business for very long. So I invite you to the me only aspect of this, right? I'm able to diagnose your financial position in less than 5 minutes. Guys, where can you go? And someone can tell you what your financial positioning is in 5 minutes or less, right? Because we don't have time. So therefore, you can call my agency, Dr. Erica and Associates. Our direct dial is 866-509-3258 or 866-50-WEALTH. We definitely would love to help. It is no cost for that diagnostic. Dr. Joan, I'm going to throw it because you're having this party. And, I'm from Jamaica. I live there. Think that I'm Jamaican. But I'm going to throw an extra $50 in party tonight. So you let me know. You pull another name. And we're giving away money on that and at that party tonight. All right? So take it away. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. Awesome. So thank you. So thank you for joining in on the fun of giving tonight. You said another $50 in the hat for tonight's drawing. But I'm gonna need you to repeat your phone number because your phone was breaking up and only some of the numbers came through. So repeat your phone number again.
Okay, my number is 866-50-WEALTH, or that's 866-509-3258.
That's better. All right. So, Jamela, take it on with your final question. Please name and describe 4 essential elements of an annual report.
Okay, great. So let me just first define what an annual report is. It's a summary of the organization's financials and activities over the course of a year. So there are a lot of components to the annual report. However, I will focus on the 4. The first is impact. So this is not a list of the actual activities that the organization held over the course of 2020, but rather here you want to focus on who you supported and how you supported your service population. This goes back to the H and the Y that I mentioned at the top of the session. If you service homeless population, for example, the donors in the community want to see things like how many homeless persons did you serve? How many meals did you serve? How many toiletry packages did you hand out? And how many volunteer hours were accumulated over the course of 2020? Another example, if you provide workforce development, yes, you held 30 trainings in 2020, but what were the results? What was the impact? What percentage of your clients actually attained viable jobs? Did you get them off of the street into their own housing? Are they now able to connect with and take care of their families because of the help that your organization provided? So we're talking about impact, what you did, the changes that you made, not necessarily what you did when it came to the activities themselves. Next up, you want to share those stories of impact. You want to humanize the work that you do. It's not just data, it's not just numbers, it's not just statistics. In this work that we do with nonprofits, we are in service, we're in a service capacity. So we're helping people. So share some stories of impact. Have one of your clients or someone who has benefited from your organization to share a testimonial. This can be a quote from them. If your annual report is online, ask them to share a short video of the work that your organization helped and how it has changed their lives. People give to organizations where they can see that there's impact. Okay. The same way that we have to do branding in the sense of being, the me that Jerry talked about when it comes to nonprofits, we have to show that the work that we're doing is really making a difference and that we're putting the public's money to work. Okay. Number 3 is a financial snapshot of your fiscal year. These aren't detailed financial statements that Stephanie and Dr. Erica have alluded to. This is more of graphs, pie charts, a summary, a short description of how the money came in and how it went back out. Okay. This also falls under your disclosure requirements when it comes at the state level. Because you're not giving detailed financial statements in the actual annual report, there should be a statement in the report that says, hey, if you want to see our full financials, contact us at such and such, or go to our website. As a nonprofit, there's 1,000% transparency. There is no such thing as closed books. Okay. Your money is open to the public because you're using public money to fund the organization. Okay. So make sure before you make that statement that your financial matters are in order. Okay. And then last, you always want to give a thank you. This work that we do, it cannot be done alone. So you want to thank your community of supporters, your donors, your board members, your volunteers, your staff, the people that you're serving, because you as a collective body are doing the work to create the impact. One last note about the annual reports is that they have changed over the years as far as the aesthetics. They're not the 100-page detailed long reports like they used to be. They're now one-pagers and infographics so that people can get a quick snapshot, again, of what the work it is that you're doing. Now, some people love to read the details. They love the minutia. So you can still do that, but also make sure you're presenting this infographic so that you're able to, appeal to all audiences, however you choose to do so. So those are a few points of the annual report. It is something that is needed. It's not a requirement by the state or the federal government. However, it's something that you want to produce for the community so the organization can prove that has been working all year long. So when we come for Giving Tuesday, like that just happened on December 1st, they can say, oh, I can give because I know that they've done all of this throughout this year. If you've done no work, nobody's going to give to you because they don't know where the money is going.
Okay, awesome. So Stephanie, take it on with telling us what is the difference between an accountant and a financial planner.
Okay, thank you, Joan. The difference between a accountant and financial planner, both of them in a nutshell is based on, the finance. But as an accountant looks more in the tax area, and the financial planner looks more into investments. As an accountant, they do auditing, they do forecasting, putting together financial statements. And then as a financial planner, they help the individual with their like wealth management, their retirement, planning. They do more planning as it relates to their financial information as it relates to them individually. And so the difference is the accountant focus more on the taxes, and the planner, financial planner, focus more on your investment as it relates to your financial.
Okay, awesome. And I'm going to ask you another question because I realized I skipped one of your questions. I didn't ask you as this day I was going to ask everyone 4 questions. So your question that I'm going to ask you is going to really be your final question. What is the best piece of accounting advice that you can offer to an entrepreneur, especially a budding entrepreneur?
Oh, okay. Thank you, Joan. The best advice that I can offer as it relates to the entrepreneur and the budding entrepreneur is that rather than try to do everything yourself, my best advice is that your turnover, your accounting, your financial information to a professional accountant. Because if you try to do it all yourself, it's just going to take, of course, a lot of your time. And so it's going to allow you to focus more on doing, your business financial as opposed to providing the best services to your customer. And so that's my recommendation is that, turn your records over to a professional accounting so you can focus on, developing and growing your business.
Okay, awesome. I'm so glad I didn't cheat you of that question. So, so thank you again to this amazing panel 4. Woo, I've been at this all day, but thank you.
Hey, John, real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt, but are you looking for free gifts for your thing tonight? I'd like to donate something.
Donate away. What are you giving?
I'm going because I didn't know you had that. I'm going to donate a 1-hour brainstorming session with me by phone.
Okay.
1-hour brainstorming session. That's usually $500. Okay.
Okay.
Complimentary.
It better be by phone. I don't think they're gonna come all the way out to.
Well, phone versus Zoom. Not everything is by Zoom. You need to stop. Okay. Now see, there you go. See. I'll do phone or Zoom. How about that?
Okay, Dr. Erica, you got to unmute yourself, love.
Oh, I was just telling Jerry, I'm California.
She said she wants to have a brainstorming session. Okay.
Okay. All right. Super awesome. So you guys, thank you viewers for hanging in there. I know this has been an entire day. We've been at this since 10 o'clock, but thank you. We have 2 more segments to go. We do have the after party starting at 7, where the vendors are going to be showcasing their products and services and talk about their companies. So please join us on all these platforms that I'm streaming on. Please join me on them at 7 p.m. And also, let me see if I could find this. Okay, so please go to my website, the Women's Entrepreneur, WeGlobalNetwork.com, and fill out the survey for your favorite panelist. Okay, it could be from any one of the 4 panelists. You gotta have a favorite because it's gonna hard to have a favorite because everyone was great. That's what I meant to say. But you can only drop your hat in the bucket one time. So send us an email, follow the prompts on the website, and you'll have a chance not to win just $150 as I was announcing earlier. But Dr. Erica Murray, she threw her hat in the ring. So we're going to be giving away $100. And you got to tune into the live party at 7 with the vendors. And who knows, you may be able to use that money to shop from the vendors. Who knows? So join me at that time. But please meet me back here at 4:15. We're going to have the amazing Dr. Ruben West out of Topeka, Kansas. and he's going to be bringing the keynote. Here.
Hello, it's Dr. Ruben West, and I'm excited because Joan Henry is doing her Women's Entrepreneur Expo, and this is the 12th one, but this one is going to be virtual. We're not going to let a pandemic hold us back. Her theme, embracing your potential with a winning mindset. And I know mindset is everything. Mindset is what's going to help you get back up again when you've been knocked down. Mindset is going to help you turn those stumbling blocks into stepping stones. Guess what? Mindset is going to help you hang in there when people don't believe you, they doubt you, and they laugh at you. And here's what I know. If you can't take people laughing at you, then you'll never be in a position for them to applaud you. Laughter and applaud go hand in hand, and they usually follow one another. Listen, I'm the keynote speaker. You can see I'm already fired up. I'm ready to go. But here's the key. You have to be there. So mark your calendar, set an alarm, do whatever you have to do to be there for the 12th annual Women's Entrepreneur Expo. It's virtual. You can watch it from the privacy of your own home. But make no mistake, I'm still bringing the heat. I'm Dr. Ruben West. Joan Henry, thank you. And I can't wait to see you there.
So there you have it. Dr. West is going to be in the house at 4:15, which is about 10 minutes from now. So let me just say thank you again to this amazing panel 4. I'm going to go for now, and I'll join you. Please join me back so we can hear from Dr. West, the keynote speaker. Thank you again, panelists. I have been your host, Jamaican Joan, and until next time, now you take care and make this $1 million day. Jamaican Joan, see you in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.